Now these scathing accusations from a former Facebook executive about how the company handles hate content and misinformation. The whistleblower, Frances Haugen, is a former product manager at Facebook. She's set to testify before Congress tomorrow on how she says the company put profits over public safety. Haugen telling CBS's 60 Minutes that Facebook knows its platform is being used to spread hate and encourage violence. But when given the choice between the public good and the company's bottom line, Facebook looked after its own interests.
One of the consequences of how Facebook is picking out that content today is it is optimizing for content that gets engagement, a reaction. But its own research is showing that content that is hateful, that is divisive, that is polarizing, it's easier to inspire people to anger than it is to other emotions. Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site, they'll click on less ads, they'll make less money.
Wow. It's the bottom line. Haugen also accused Facebook of contributing to the climate that led to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Why? She says that after the 2020 election, the company reversed some of its own safeguards against election disinformation.
They told us we're dissolving civic integrity. Like they basically said, oh good, we made it through the election. There wasn't riots. We can get rid of civic integrity now. Fast forward a couple of months, we got the insurrection. And when they got rid of civic integrity, it was the moment where I was like, I don't trust that they're willing to actually invest what needs to be invested to keep Facebook from being dangerous. As soon as the election was over, they turned them back off, or they changed the settings back to what they were before to prioritize growth over safety. And that really feels like a betrayal of democracy to me.
Growth over safety. CNN chief media correspondent Brian Stelter has been following this story. And Brian, this is really the latest in a series with Facebook, right? Where they know about the damage, the disinformation being shared online, and don't do anything about it, or in this case, it seems, hid that information.
And that's why there are so many comparisons this morning to big tobacco, to decades ago when big tobacco companies were revealed to have known their products were addictive and deadly. Now, of course, Facebook rejects those comparisons, but they're going to keep coming up because the whistleblower is testifying before a Senate subcommittee tomorrow. So she will be speaking out on Capitol Hill, and she's already lined up a chance to testify in the United Kingdom as well. So what we have in this situation is an insider saying what so many of Facebook's outside critics have been saying for years. Now you have someone who was on the inside, who was working as a product manager, working on misinformation, trying to combat Facebook's problems. She came to conclude that Facebook was not going to do so, that the situation was getting worse. And as you see on screen there, her lawyers have filed 8 complaints, at least 8 complaints, with the SEC, of course, the government agency that regulates the financial markets. So what she is charging is that what Facebook says in public is a lie compared to what she knows in private. She's also the person who leaked all those documents to the Wall Street Journal and provided all this evidence that Facebook knows about the flaws of its platforms. Now, I interviewed Nick Clegg yesterday. He's one of the top spokespeople for Facebook. And essentially, he advances the argument that no social media platform is perfect, but we are trying our best. Here's a part of what Clegg told me.
I think this is a good example of the company doing exactly what I hope people would expect we should do, which is not pretending that everything is perfect on social media. It isn't. Researching where there are the minority of instances where it's not working out right for people, and then trying to fix it as much as we can on our own apps.
So what you hear there is Clegg saying, most people have a good experience on Facebook and Instagram. And for the people who don't, we're trying to improve that. We're trying to fix that. I think the broader question, though, is when there's a product so addictive that's warping our brains and minds, that is used by billions of people, is it bigger than anyone can control? Has the monster become too big for Facebook to control?
It's an important question. Brian Stelter, appreciate it as always. Joining us now is Lisa Banks. She's an employment and whistleblower attorney who has represented several high-profile clients, including Stephen Sund, the former Capitol Police Chief, and former HHS whistleblower Dr. Rick Bright. Lisa, it's good to have you with us this morning. Based on your experience, what happens next here?
Well, I think the whistleblower will continue to expose what she perceives to be wrongdoing, and she'll do that to Congress. She'll do that through the SEC, and will continue in all likelihood, to continue doing it through the media as well.
Did Facebook, a big picture here, by having this information internally and not sharing it, you know, including with filings with the SEC, I mean, did Facebook break any laws here?
It's possible. That would be the basis of her SEC filing, which is that what Facebook was saying publicly to Congress, to regulators, to the public was false, and it was misleading to investors. And that can be a violation of SEC laws and regulations. And so that is the basis of her SEC filing.
We know there are a number of filings to the SEC, as you pointed out, we just talked about. She is set to testify before Congress tomorrow. In terms of also providing these documents to the media, is that generally what you would also advise a client to do to make sure that this information gets out? I mean, how important and how wise is that part of what we're seeing?
Well, it's risky to do it, for sure. When you reveal information to government agencies, the SEC, Congress, that's generally protected. But when you go to the press, when you give the Wall Street Journal thousands of documents, that's a little riskier. But sometimes it's necessary because what a whistleblower is trying to do is expose serious wrongdoing in the hopes that change can be effected. And if you go to the SEC or sometimes even to Congress, you're not assured that that information will get out, that you want to shine a light on this. And sometimes going through the media is the best and the only way to do that. So it often is a necessary step for whistleblowers.
I mean, we saw that in the Trump administration, for instance, concerns that following the internal process could be quashed, right, by partisans, and you saw folks who then went outside that process. My question to you, big picture, is, are whistleblower laws written to sufficiently protect whistleblowers like this from criminal prosecution?
Well, depending on where they bring the information. So obviously she's protected in going to the SEC, for example. She may not be protected in going to the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
And it's entirely conceivable that Facebook will bring some sort of civil action against her, breach of a non-disclosure agreement or misappropriation of trade secrets or something like that. But just because they can doesn't mean they should.
Right. They may make their own judgment about public profile, public relations on that issue beyond the law. Lisa Banks, so good to have you on.
Thank you very much.